Hi, everybody. Dan Illman, Mike Beer. Let's throw up the field for race number 8 at Kentucky Downs on Saturday. It is the Grade 3 Kentucky Downs Ladies Sprint. $500,000 is the purse for this race. We are kicking off a 14% takeout, 50-cent pick 4 with the ladies sprint, and one of the major contenders expected to be withdrawn to run on Sunday at Kentucky Downs, and that would be the number 11, Kamari. That does not leave this race without star power. Got Stormy, the horse to beat off a grade 1 placing against males on the 4-star Dave. I still think the question's out there, Mike. Has she come back as good this year as she was last?
I agree. I think the question is still out there, although I have to admit she did run pretty well last time. That was a very, very strong field. And listen, maybe it was just as simple as getting her back to Saratoga, Dan, where it seems like she really likes it, but she did take a step in the right direction last time.
There is not surprisingly speed in this race. We throw up the Timeform US pace projector. We're expecting a red bar scenario. Remember to visit timeformus.com once scratches are official. This pace projector will update, and any also eligibles will then be placed into the pace projector. But I agree, the 10 Jakarta, plenty fast out of the gate. The 12 Surrender Now from Southern California also has a lot of speed. They'll be going up front.
Yeah, I think they will, and we'll see how Jakarta deals with that, Dan. They have her on the lead in the pace projector. She sprinted on turf twice, and she was right up there in those races, but or 3 times rather, but those weren't fast paces in those races.
A horse lacking pace data on your Timeform US pace projector is the number 1, Intuição. And the reason that we don't have any pace data for her is because she's been racing exclusively in South America. This will be her North American debut. She seems like she's been pretty good, Mike, sprinting, going a mile. Tell us about this filly.
I mean, we'll see how she matches up here, Dan. It's always tough to tell when they ship in because you don't know what they were facing. I'll say this about her races in Brazil. She has shown speed in those races. Not that she needed to be on the lead, but she's shown speed. She was forward in most of them. And it just sort of looks like, based on her last 2 in group company, that cutting back a little bit in distance might really work for her. She got the mile when she won the Group 3-2 back, but she was getting a little tired at the end and just survived it. Ran pretty well last time, just couldn't make the lead. And the horse that won it came from way out of it to close that field. And I think she's run pretty well in her recent races.
Number 2 is I'll Handle the Cash, and she looks like a filly that would appreciate a little bit of give in the ground. She looked good in the license fee 2 starts back, a race run in a driving rainstorm where she got right up close to the pace that day and was able to hold sway in the caress over firm ground at Saratoga. I thought she'd run equally as well, and she didn't. She kind of underperformed in that spot, and I think there's a question as to how good she is.
Yeah, she did underperform last time. I do think she's talented, Dan, and I like her running style for this race. I'll say this about her. The only thing that I can gather from watching most of her races is I don't think that she really likes to be down inside and behind horses in her races. That was the case last time in the Caress, and she just didn't fire at all. It also happened to her at Gulfstream back in March in the Captiva Island, where she was just inside and she did not look comfortable or focused at all with horses surrounding her. I think she wants to be out in the clear. And when she gets that kind of trip, she's actually pretty good.
A fast pace should help the 3 winning envelope, who didn't get that kind of scenario in the video we're about to watch from Canterbury Downs, the Lady Canterbury Stakes. This is a mile race. They went 48-3 to the half. She's in the red cap. She just was able to extricate herself from in behind horses. She's in between, and she's trying really hard, Mike. She's going to get second, and she's sprinted successfully in the past. I think this 6.5 with a good pace in front of her is a good distance for her. And again, it could be a completely different pace scenario this time around.
I agree. I feel like the added furlong as compared to her Churchill race 2 back could really help her. Not that she had, a huge excuse at Churchill 2 back. Change of Control, who's also in this race, beat her. And they were winning envelope actually had a shot at that race. She had momentum. She was closing at the end, and Change of Control just held her off at the end. No real excuses, but this is a good horse, and she will run late at a price.
I don't think the 4 Quebec liked the soft ground last time out at Ellis Park. I'm willing to draw a line through that race. 2 starts back at Lone Star, she was able to control a pretty quick tempo up front in a middle distance race, and she got tired. My issue with that race was I just don't think it was a very strong field. She is a horse that prefers to be forwardly placed, and I still think I have some class questions about her as well.
Yeah, I have all those same questions. I didn't know if she was good enough, and I don't necessarily know that cutting back in distance helps this horse either, Dan.
Let's talk about change of control, Mike. I wonder about the 6.5 for change of control, who's been mostly a 5.5 furlong filly throughout her career. But her most recent start off a little bit of a layoff, I thought was an okay performance. And 2 starts back, going 5.5, she came from out of it. I think she's the kind of closing sprinter that if she stays this distance, has a bit of a puncher's chance.
I agree. I think she'll get the right trip in this race because she's that kind of horse who won't get outrun, but she's not going to have to be up on the lead either. And overall, her turf sprint form is rock solid. She tends to show up and run her race every single time. It may not be good enough to win this race, Dan, but she could get a piece.
Friends, go back into your formulator past performances and watch Mentality's last race from start to finish. We're going to pick it up in the stretch of the Hessenite, and Mentality's in control of this race on the inside. This pace is very slow for 6 furlongs on the Widener turf at Belmont, and it was just a weird race because Kid is Frosty broke sharp, was right on top of Mentality early, and then for one reason or another just took back and gave Mentality the race basically.
Yeah, I mean, she just walked on the leader a half in 46. She just had complete control and really took advantage to win that race. Listen, she's pretty talented. She goes out for Wesley Ward. I think you always want to respect these horses. I don't know, Dan. I feel like just looking at her overall form, I do not see the race that she's run that makes her a huge player in here. Although she's a great price on the morning line.
Christophe Clement has Kariba in excellent form. Let's watch her win in the Caress, where she beats 3 next out winners, horses that earn buyers of 94, 82, and 89 respectively. Jakarta is on the lead turning into the stretch. Kariba is in the green and yellow silk, splitting horses right now, and this is just a determined run from this filly, and this is what we're going to get from her. It's not like she's this completely deep one-run closer. She has a little bit of tactical speed. I think this distance is going to hit her right between the eyes.
I agree. All 4 of her turf starts so far are good, and 2 of those are going 7.5 in a mile. And I don't really think the cutback to 6.5 or the stretch out to 6.5 works against her. Her last 2 starts since they sprinted her, I think they're both really good, Dan. I will note that that race we just watched from in the Caress, that was very early in the Saratoga meet when Christophe Clement was winning everything. It felt like everything he put on the track was winning, and she was one of them, but she still ran well in that race.
Got Stormy, the marquee name in this race, if Kamari scratches as expected. Millionaire, multiple grade 1 stakes winner, second in the Breeders' Cup Mile, and perhaps the 4-star Dave, the race we're going to show right now, a return to form. She got the second best trip in the race. The best trip went to Halliday, who was able to just get loose on the lead and walk the dog. Sitting in behind all the way was Got Stormy. She's got a shot at Halliday, and I don't know, Mike, maybe I'm nitpicking. I still think the 2019 version of Got Stormy goes by this horse.
I don't disagree. She might have, because she was in real good form in 2019, and she was pretty easily turned away there in the 4-star Dave. Yes, she took a step forward. Yes, she ran a fast race. And yes, it was against way better horses than this. So all those things could conspire to make her a very heavy favorite in this race. I will just say, Dan, it's at least worth pointing out that as well as she ran last time, that 4-star Dave, there were a lot of no-shows in that race. There were good horses in there, and several of them did not show up at all.
And I think a lot of that had to do with the ground. That ground was listed as good. It might have been a little bit softer than good, and a lot of Chad's horses just didn't seem to handle it. Does this turn back in distance to 6.5 worry you? Got Stormy's always been a middle distance horse. Her best distance is a mile, and this will actually be her first 1-turn or 1.5-turn sprint, however you want to call it, in her career. The only other time she sprinted, her debut, a 2-turn 7.5 furlong event.
Yeah, I didn't worry about the shorter distance. I actually don't think it should bother her at all. She's a very handy horse. She's got speed, but doesn't need the lead. I think she'll get the trip that she wants in this race. So I'm not going to worry about the distance. We'll just see what kind of price she is and whether she shows up with her good race.
Perhaps into Mystic, the number 9, just really liked that soft ground at Ellis Park last time out. Let's watch that Kentucky Downs preview race. She showed good speed from the start. She ended up in the pocket. She gets to the outside, and she comes with a second run to run down Ambassador Luna. As you see, there is no running going on behind Into Mischief, but she did beat 2 minor next out winners, and she got a fig. If you believe the fig, this 100 buyer puts her in the mix. There are distance questions as she steps up in class. She's sharp right now.
Yeah, she is. I'm having a tough time buying some of the figures on that Ellis Park card on August 2nd. We'll see if this horse can back it up. Now, it's not like her Monrovia prior to that little layoff there wasn't a solid performance. So we'll see. Maybe she's just this good right now, Dan. But I just wonder how much money she takes off the triple-digit buyer last time.
Michael Makers turned Jakarta around. She was always doing well at Penn National, but Makers brought in Jakarta to the big leagues, has put her on the turf, and really all of her turf efforts, with the exception of the Intercontinental, where she was overmatched over ground that she disliked, all very good. We did see her get run down going 5.5. I know she's won at a mile, but that was an off-the-turf race where she controlled the pace. I wonder about the 6.5, especially if she's pressured early.
I do too. And to be honest, then I just wonder how good she is. I know that she's won 2 of her 3, or run well, it looks like, in 2 of her 3 turf starts, but the win at Gulfstream back in March just went very slow pace for that 5 furlong distance and wired that field. And last time, I mean, it's not like the pace was blazing. She was absolutely loose in there, and Kariba ran her down with very little trouble. I don't know. I just don't get this horse.
I have questions regarding the 12 Surrender Now's current form, not her early speed. She still retains it. In the Monrovia, she just got shuffled back early and never really had a chance in traffic. But in the Daisy Cutter last time out, she sat right off the early lead and just didn't have any punch in the lane. She's going to have to improve, but she's plenty fast out of there. Maybe Ricardo Santana Jr. just puts her on a dead send.
Yeah, probably just send her for the front here and see what happens. Based on her overall form, I just felt like she was in tough in this race, and it's not a great position for Asmussen to be in either, to have to take this horse over from Peter Miller.
And if Kamari scratches, the 13 Dixie and Candyland would get first dibs into getting into the body of the race. Let's watch her most recent start. I thought she did some pretty good things. All in all, a good trip. Down towards the inside, red cap, yellow silks. But she did have to alter course sharply to the outside. And she has some running to do to nail a 3-5 favorite. And she really digs down deep. You see her reaching for the ground. This was a game performance, albeit against weaker horses.
It was. She ran well in there to get it done. It still leaves her just too slow to win this race, Dan. I mean, she's in actually good form right now since coming back from that long layoff, but she's a little bit too slow for these horses.
Let's take a look at our top selections for the Grade 3 Ladies Sprint Stakes. You're going with the complete X Factor, the Stranger, the Brazilian Invader, the number 1 in Tussauds.
Yeah, I liked what I've seen from her on tape, Dan. We'll see. I do think the shorter distance is going to work for her, so we'll just see how good she is. And, outside of got Stormy's really good race, which, maybe she'll run it and win here. I don't know. I just didn't really want to take her at a short price. I don't love the other favorites in this race. I'm going to take a shot with the new face.
I think you make a very good point about the buyer's speed figures on Kentucky Downs preview day at Ellis Park. Maybe they're a bit inflated, but I also thought that Into Mystic ran a nice race against a very talented runner in Jolie Olympica 2 starts back in that Monrovia at Santa Anita. I think she's found a home sprinting on turf, and I also think she's tactical enough that she can place herself in 3rd or 4th just off the leaders and get the jump at what could be a square price. It's all about price. You may be right. Maybe they just jump all over her off that triple-digit buyer. I don't see it with a horse like Got Stormy in this race. You're going 1, 8, 3, and 2. I'm going 9, 8, 7, and 10. It's the ladies sprint, race 8, kicking off a 50-cent pick 4 with an approximate post of 4:59 Eastern. Good luck.